What's going on, guys? Today we're gonna replace a blower motor, and the type of blower motor I'm talking about has you can see these mounted in metal brackets on the side. So they don't all have that. So if yours doesn't have that, what you can do is just use the same bracket. But either way, when we take this out of the system, there's two screws right here on the blower, right here and right here. Now, if you're facing the furnace or the air handler or whatever it is that you're doing, this is gonna look something like this. These screws are gonna be right here. All you gotta do is take those two out and you slide this right out of there. And you got it. Now, what was wrong with this blower was the motor here, the wheel. You can test these yourself. Turn the power off to the system first. You can spin this, and if it's not spinning easily, it's going like that, it's somewhat seized or it's locked up. Sometimes they won't spin at all. This one's just barely going. It won't even start. It just hums when the system comes on. So we're gonna replace it. So once you pull this out, you're gonna have something like this. You disconnect the wires. Your blower motor will be right here like this. You got your capacitor here. All you're gonna do is just, first thing you want to do, don't take the screws out first. Flip it around. Just like this. But yeah. You can see there's a little rusty shaft right here, right? What we're gonna do is take some sandpaper, just like this, and we're just gonna kind of sand that thing, sand it good. And I'm gonna spray a little WD-40 on it, and that way the wheel, when I go to pull it out, it'll come right out. Because if it doesn't, I'm gonna have to use a wheel puller, and that's never easy. So just take my sandpaper. I like to just kind of wiggle it back and forth on there, get it good. Because it may save you a headache later on. It's always good to do. I like to sand it first and then pour the WD-40 so I can blow this stuff out of here. It doesn't get all gunk, rusty WD-40 mixed mud. Alright, so I'm going to spray it out on there. There we go. All right, and I'm just spraying it right here, the WD-40 right there, inside the grooves and stuff that way. This wheel comes off. All right, and we take a regular old wrench and this screw right here. Just gotta loosen it. You can take it out if you want. Make sure you don't lose it. It's right there. All right, so I'm gonna take that off. So now all we're doing is taking these three screws out, okay? These three right here. And yours could be a different size. Some are 5/16, some are 7/16. Most of them are 3/8. This is a 3/8 nut driver. Take it right out. Something that looks like this. Now, if you have, most blowers don't have these little metal brackets here. I'm gonna show you what to do when you have these metal brackets, because obviously this one has them. If you got the other style, it's like a clip that goes around here. There's a nut right here. You just loosen it. Same thing with the WD-40. You don't have to sand it, but just loosen it. Take it out. You can actually use that on the blower motor on the new one. Just make sure you put it back on right. You might want to take a Sharpie and mark where the legs were on the old one and all that, but for the most part, that's the only difference between these two. So let me show you. I'm gonna go, so if you look inside here, dirty that is. Gunky on the wheel. It's grosser than you might think it is. So we're gonna clean that. And it improves the airflow more than you may think. Having those fins just thinner and pushing that air better. So the way to do that is you gotta pull this flap up right here to get the blower out. So it's just 2 screws. One's right here. And just one directly on the other side. All I'm gonna do is just spray this with like some 409, some Fantastic or something, and I'm gonna hose it off with a regular hose, a spray hose. So I'm gonna do that right now, and I will be right back. All right, so we're back for round 2. I took a hose and just cleaned this out. Give you an idea. Wheel, same thing. Just sprayed the 409 in here and just kind of sprayed through there, but I don't know. You can see that or not. There is still this blower does have corrosion on it, but it got all this dirt and stuff off of here, so it's good. It's worth it. It takes a couple minutes and you got a nice clean blower motor, fresher air, and everything else. So all right, next we're going to put the blower together, and then we're going to put everything back together here. First thing, take this wheel, I'm going to pop it right back in here. All right, so your air blows this way, so just make sure your wheel is lined up so when it spins, you can kind of see the air is going to end up pulling, pushing it up this way. It's spinning. All right, so just make sure your blower is going back in the right way. All right, we'll drop that in there just like that. Put these screws back on here. Back in. So now we are going to slide our motor into the side of the wheel that does not have this on it. This is the back of it. All right, so we're going to be sliding into this side here. All right, line our wheel up. All right, and for the brackets that were on the motor, they have these universal brackets. They almost always work. So this is the type I use. I'm sure they make other types, but it's a universal 3 bracket little blower motor belly. All right, and they come with these little rubber grommets here, and just make sure they line up right. When you put it down in there, you want this rubber part on the bottom, these little metal tabs. Slide that right into the rubber on the top where the screw goes. That's just so it doesn't squish the metal too much, and it ends up vibrating. So there's that. And all we're gonna do, we're gonna attach this on the new blower motor, and we're gonna slide it right in. All right, so let's do that. So these 2 wires here, if you have it on your motor, these are reversible connections because this shaft here can spin the direction of the blower either way. Usually the blowers are already set for the indoor blowers. Usually, but you want to make sure. Sometimes they're not. The outdoor units, a lot of times you got to change them, so always keep these poked out of the top of the outdoor unit. Very similar change out with the outdoor fans as it is with these blowers. So most of this stuff, if you know how to change one of these, you can change one of those. So this, all right, so this belly is gonna go on here like this, all right, and we're gonna flip it right on there. That's all we gotta do. Just a nut, loosen it up, and put it on there. I would normally do this on the floor, but I want you guys to see it. All right, and on the old blower motor, all right, the front of the motor is where our wires were coming out. So we want our wires, like when we put this thing on, we want our wires kind of towards the front so that we can do what we want to them once we have it inside the unit. All right. Make sure this is tight. You want this tight. This isn't, you definitely don't want this finger tight. This holding, securing the blower, so you definitely want it to get it pretty tight. About as tight as you can. Don't break the screw, but get it tight. All right, that's it. Our belly's on. All right, I'm gonna slide this in. Wire's going to the front. Most part, we could do it here or here, so this is the best place right here. All right, you're just gonna line your holes up. All right, so there's that. I'm gonna flip it over and just kind of make sure that screw, hopefully you guys can see this, make sure the screw that's in here is just lined up with the flat part. You're gonna go right on the flat part here, all right? I'm gonna screw it in, but the way I do it is I take my fingers here and I just make sure the blower, the sides of the blower are like kind of the same distance. You can feel both, like it's sharp right here. You can, and then you can adjust which way, so you get your blower right in the middle there. So you know where, because this can, it can go back and forth. So you want to get it in the middle. So I put it flat. I get right in the middle. That's good there. Get tight with my finger. Double check. Good to go. When you tighten the new one, don't pull too hard on the shaft here. You want to get it tight, but just kind of, make sure you're not pulling this too hard. Mess the bearings up. There we go. And that's it. Should spin, make sure it's not grinding. Should feel the air coming out the top here and not out this way. That's it. The old one, we went to turn it. If your blower's working, it should be spinning like this. If it's not, it's probably about to go bad, or this is how I test motors when I go on maintenance calls for the most part. I check the shaft a little bit and wiggle it, but for the most part, the main thing is just spin it. And you can kind of tell, like, how much lubrication does it still have in the motor. But, that's it for that side. Now, last thing before we slide it back in. Check your motor. This one's a 5 microfarad, but you always want to replace the capacitor when you do a blower. This one's a 5. So I got a new one here. You usually use the old bracket here. I don't know if this one's gonna fit. Let's find out if it fits. All right, not gonna fit. So we're not gonna use it. Take a piece of. I just use this metal strap stuff. They have plastic stuff that's just like this. You just use something stable to hold this. Don't just leave it dangling there like most guys do. Try to get it a lot cleaner, safer, doing it like this. Alright, so now we got our wires here. The ones we're going to mess with right now is going to be our ground. So we're going to take this old grounds on this side. We're going to flip it over here. It should have extra places to put the ground screw. Alright, so we're just going to put this right in. What you want to make sure is that your wheel doesn't hit the screw or something like that. So we're going to test it. Make sure. For the most part. Alright, I want these wires are going to be coming up, so I'm going to tighten this down right here. Just like that. Alright. Next we're going to take two brown ones. If you don't have two brown ones, I don't know what to tell you, because every capacitor I've ever seen has always been brown. So for the most part, it's going to be brown. If not, check your manufacturer specifications for which two wires are for your capacitor. If you have a variable speed blower motor, you may not have a capacitor. So in that case, don't worry about this step. Here we go. Oh, this is just these are the two brown wires here. I'm just popping these things right on in here. It doesn't matter which side. One goes on one side, one on the other. There's usually 4 prongs on each one of these terminals on the capacitor. So, just like that. All right. Now, get yourself a couple zip ties. You don't have wires all over the place. Just kind of do something. Do something with it. All right. So that's it for the most part, just like that. All right, I'm gonna spin it here. It's all set up. This is ready to slide in.